we need to address is, do we want to continue to be involved, since we've got 2 new commissioners, and I probably need to wait till John gets back. Do we want to continue to be involved in public lands issues? Do we still want to go to D.C., go to wherever?
Public land. Well, it is. PILT is kind of public lands issues, but
yes.
You went to PILT and we were successful. We need to have a big showing back there to keep that going. That's $3 million for this budget.
It's huge. It's enormous. Now, and I think I mentioned this the other night, that PILT has made it through the House appropriations. So now it goes to Senate appropriations, and then they have to sort out the differences.
So right before a vote, then they may schedule that PILT trip back there right before that vote.
And we may need to go, we have had a great effect on that. The first year I went, it was, well, you're gonna go see your congressional delegation, and my complaint was, I know what our congressional delegation thinks. I've had those conversations with them at different events individually, so I know what they think. We need to be talking to these other states, and I made that statement in a room with 80 people, 80 other commissioners. And so this last fall, when we went, that's exactly what we did. We went to New Jersey, Illinois, Tennessee, Texas. We went to their congressional delegations and gave our pitch. And as you might expect, there were a number of those people who didn't even know what PILT was. Now, there were those that also knew exactly what it was and were very much in favor of it. So I felt like we had a big effect this last time on PILT. Now, each trip, of course, most of the other states have a tendency to go and talk to their delegations while they're there. Wyoming sits down with the BLM director, with the Interior Department people, with Fish and Wildlife, with Forest Service, and we're sitting just like we are right here, right now, and have those conversations about specific items. So that's what happens back there. Myself, I feel like it's well worth the expenditure. Those are the DC trips are probably the most expensive that we do, but it's because every meal, your room, everything in DC just takes your breath away. And airfares. Our airfares, are 20-25% more than even our trips to Hawaii. DC is horribly expensive to go to. And that's part of the reason I have taken so much money out of my own pocket and put into this line item. I want as many of us to go as possible. The more voices we have, the more likely we are to get something done.
Wyoming has about 20 votes, but we use 10 of them.
Because
and so we really need more people to go back there. But it is going to come up lots of issues that affect the state, whether it's coal or oil and gas, let alone the wilderness study areas and those kind of things. So I think it is important.
And of course, we push back on all those, for the counties, for the state, and they're very important issues. It's like our old director used to tell us: if you're not at the table, you're on the menu. So You know, it's a matter of, do we want to have a voice, and how much of a voice?
You know, I would agree with the comment that I heard you guys make a couple of weeks ago. It said, you know, that basically there had to be a change in the administration, you know, in the president's office before any real change can be made. I was in a meeting, about a year or so ago with a lady who's in the energy department. She's fourth down from President Obama. And she was extremely excited about I think it was Brazil, to become, we're going to help them become energy independent, right? And they were going to help China with their economy, because a healthier China is a friendlier China, was her belief. And I couldn't disagree more. You know, the coal, Rod, that you mentioned, I mean, that is a problem, but the current administration doesn't think there is such a thing as clean coal, and we're losing a lot of jobs in Wyoming because of that, you know. I was excited to see that excited to hear actually the EPA a week ago came out and announced that fracking doesn't affect the aquifer, doesn't have any effect on clean water, right? So I guess where I'm at, I mean, if we have any issues that you know, need to be heard in Washington D.C., I would prefer that we just spend a little time just walk across the street, because we can do that. I mean, we're so blessed in Wyoming to be able to walk across the street, and if we can't talk to Cynthia Lummis, we can talk to her staff, and they'll certainly relay the message. Or, you know, Brasso is certainly easily accessible, right? And so it would be my recommendation that we go that route, and because I'm just not seeing the benefit, right? And I think the impression that we as commissioners are giving to the other departments is a poor one, because you know, if we're asking them to be conservative in their travel and training budgets, and we're flying, you know, Washington D.C. and Hawaii, it's just it's not one. So I would put $2,000 is my recommendation for travel budget for the commissioners. That's why I'm at.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, the 10,000 would have probably covered the chairman's travel pretty good. When I got elected then as being the vice president of Commissioners Association, mm-hmm. Then I think you guys weren't here. The previous commission said that they'd pick up some of that. For 2 years, the Commissioner Association does not pay. When I'm president of the Commissioner Association, they pick up all the expenses.
Right.
So we're not talking about but another year and a half, or year. Mm-hmm. So that would come off of that. But I think we've got to have a presence there. And I agree with you that we could walk across here. We could call them on the phone. But it does not make the same impression as when you go into EPA or go into the one of the trips that we were at is the people that staff appropriations. Mm-hmm. We had a meeting with them, mm-hmm. and the appropriations committee, and you just don't get those kind of meetings, mm-hmm. by being out here. And I think it really helps to be back there.
Well, and when we had the legislative session down in Cheyenne, and they did the presentation on Planning 2.0, Rob and I sitting next to each other, and as the gal, and she's one of the team of 5 putting Planning 2.0 together, she made a statement, and Rob and I's heads snapped around at each other. That's not what we understood this to be.
There's a move
and so we cornered her and said, hey, this is not what we've been told this is about. And so we had a conversation about it, and after the meeting was over, we came home and got a request from that group, putting Planning 2.0 together, for Rob and I specifically to come and talk to them in D.C. and the entire committee.
Mm-hmm.
And we did, with, 8 or 10 other county commissioners. And
Their new BLM office back there on the south side of
on the
town.
south side of town. But
That Planning 2.0, what has happened, they're trying to figure out a way around commissioner expertise, where we have
the NGOs.
the NGOs.
Mm-hmm.
And we are at the table now, and because of the Commissioners Association, we're one of the best in the country, but we're at the table in all of those EISs that are going on. So the NGOs of the capital, they are doing Planning 2.0 to put them at the table as well.
Mm-hmm.
And the commissioners in Wyoming are pretty energy friendly. The commissioners around the country are not like that, so that they have an avenue already to be in there.
Mm-hmm.
But they want to be there as national groups in the table, and she kind of came out and said that they need to find out a way to get all of the constituents at the table. Well, that's to do away with the commissioner expertise and consultation. And so if we aren't there fighting that, we'll lose it.
Right, and that's really going to be my attitude as we continue to talk about the budget. Is we can't be all things to everybody. I mean, if sending one commissioner to Washington D.C. then is a good thing, then is it then why not send all 5 and their staff? Right. Well, you know what? You just I'm thinking that we use some of the tools already in place with Cynthia Lemus and Brasso and et cetera. And try and Skype or send a letter or use Wyoming County Commissioners Association, and their staff, and try and hear our voice there, right? Instead, because we're fighting an administration that won't pass the Keystone Pipeline, right? We're fighting an EPA that wants to restrict, the waters in California when they value. Some little environment over, the people's clean drinking water or whatever. I mean, it goes on and on and on, right? And so not always a whole lot of common sense to it. Not always a whole lot of common sense to the, the Wyoming BLM as they come in here and we've talked about the sage grouse and we've had that conversation time and time again. And you've been very patient for that and I appreciate that. But it's just, you know what, guys? I think we've got some issues here in Natrona County that are going to require some local focus, and so I think maybe we need to stay a little bit more local and reach out with the technology that we have access to and go that route. So I think a more conservative approach, in my opinion, is best.
I agree actually with both sides on this. I think we do need to be involved. I agree we need to be conservative with the money. I think if we're going to be involved, we need to increase the travel budget. But I think we also need to meet as a group and decide what is important to go to and what is not. So instead of just, hey, I'm going to take off and we're going to go to this or we're going to go to that, I think as a group we need to sit and say, okay, yeah, Rob, it's important that you go to South Carolina and go represent us, or maybe it's important that you and John go, or you and Forrest go, or whatever. I think it needs to be a group decision, whether or not those monies are spent, instead of just as maybe one person deciding.
And you weren't here for that when we made the decision that I would be the public lands guy.
Right.
And so that's how that happened. And I am on the Public Lands Steering Committee at NACO. So I try to go to as many as I can, but I can't go to everything I get invited to for obvious reasons. You just can't go that much.
Right.
Physically can't do that. And I don't like being gone from my family any more than anybody else does.
Right.
So I don't object to having that conversation, but know how we got here. It was, you are the public lands guy, you go, you do. And I did. Now, we've got 2 new commissioners, we need to restate it. And if that's what you want, is each time we go, it goes through this committee, or goes through all of us, that's fine. So what would your recommendation be that we take it to? My position is, if you're not at the table, you're on the menu.
Right.
And I want as many of us to go as possibly can go and speak with as loud a voice. Wyoming has the reputation, when we get back there, for being the strongest advocates on all of these issues. We are respected nationwide for our positions.
Shit.
And part of that is
We were one of the first ones that did the commissioner.
is we go and we participate. That is and we go and talk to all those department heads and express our concerns. You know, and it's just like people coming to our meetings and, you know, to a public hearing and expressing their concerns. You know, if you don't hear from them, if you get it in a letter, doesn't mean quite as much as that person's sitting there speaking to you in person. It just means a whole lot more to them.
Right. Well, how much to increase it, I'm not sure, because there, as you said, some of the stuff you guys have been paying for out of your own pocket. I don't agree to that. If you're going on county business, I don't think you should be paying for anything out of your own pocket. And John and I have
But
talked
it's
about
not
this a
county
little
business.
bit.
They're not
I agree with
authorized
him
by the state to do that to you.
if you're going and it's county business, county should pick up the whole thing. I don't think you should be paying for anything out of your own pocket unless it's something unrelated to county business, basically. So I would have to figure out how much you guys are picking up on your own, I guess, and it would depend.
On an annual basis, I pick up no less than 3,000, but probably no more than 7,000 a year out of my own pocket.
I don't keep track of it. I make $25,000 a year here and I spend it. What do you think, John?
Well, I'll tell you one thing. If I took this job for the money, I'll tell you what, I was a damn fool.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll tell you what. I think I'm going to start from the other end of the spectrum. I think in the 6 months or so that I've been involved in here, I have found going to I'm going to talk about in the state, going to the Wyoming County Commissioners Association, the 2 meetings I've gone, they have a fall meeting and spring meeting, I think have been very worthwhile. They have really have provided me a lot of foundation, also gives me a lot of different views that are out there within the state of Wyoming. And I think that we definitely should be budgeting for that type of activity, and I would recommend more people go to it. Okay, because I think it's very worthy. The legislature sessions, so I'm talking about again Cheyenne state legislature sessions, I think are very important, and I think every commissioner ought to make every attempt they can to go to those as well. And I think we did when we were there, my first time there, but we had to deal with the health department on the budget. I think that our presence there, mine and minor because I was new, but with that, I think mattered a lot when we got the opportunity to talk with Elaine Harvey and people like that. So I definitely think we want to have the budget in there for that, and the budget in there for the opportunity for all 5 commissioners to be able to do something like that. Local committees, I don't know how many you have when you're on the land committee. where if you have to go over to Lander or someplace
Those EISs.
with EIS with a committee and have an overnight stay, I think it's important that we recognize that that's a participation. You see where I started from. I'm starting from a grassroots more level that work up to, okay, how much support do we need to get to the national level? But I think that definitely is needed, and I really highly support that. I want to address the situation, which is kind of a temporary situation, the situation where we have, Rob, you are an officer at the state level. And at the state level, I wanted to talk a little about that. Where are you expected to go on behalf of basically the state, not Natrona County, but for the Wyoming Association itself? And I know that, and I want to follow the discussion, it's kind of seems like it's kind of unwritten policy that if anyone county member gets on those offices or becomes one of those officers, that the county will help assist in some of the expenses that are associated with that. I think that to a reasonable extent, I think that is important. Because once again, it's at a state level. When you go there, you're not just representing Natrona County. You're representing a large voice of Wyoming at that meeting. At least that's how I look at it. So I think that we should at least talk about what would be something reasonable to support that, and that's going to be on a short-term basis, because. What are you going to be an officer for a couple of years?
Yeah, a year and a half. Then what they do is the vice president and then the secretary treasurer. Usually the county picks up their expenses to go to those meetings. But then once you become president, then the state picks it up.
Okay.
And we pay dues into the state, and that's how that's paid. They did, since Forrest and I were back there in Washington, last year, I had Uber on my phone, and so the state picked up a lot of those tabs because we were packing more people to different agencies and stuff. So they didn't pick I don't think any of the cab fares, and I think I threw one or two in.
Yeah, I had several
But the Uber receipts where we packed other commissioners, then the state picked that up. I did not go to my philosophy on these meetings was that there was a lot of people doing it, and so since I've been commissioner, I haven't really done any of that national trips because there was people doing it, and it was kind of their deal. But as we've gotten into more of this, the EISs, and gotten more involved in them, it's more important. So I ended up running for that state office, and so. Why I'm going now is I need to catch up on what they do at those national meetings. I mean, I've been to Washington before with the National Cattlemen's, Wyoming stock growers. I didn't need to go on another trip. So I didn't go on trips in here for the first 6 years. Been there. But now that I'm in a position at the state, then I do need to go and find out what they're doing and how it's working so that I can then lead the County Commissioners Association.
And then you bring that information back, not to just share with Natrona County, but we'll share with all 23 counties.
And it comes from the office, and so I think that's important. Now, they're going to pick it up in a year and a half, but so that's why I started that.
So I could support, on a temporary basis. With the reality that what you're doing is you're bringing that information back. You're representing a much broader group, and everybody has a turn in the barrel, and when you have your turn in the barrel, it's going to cost a little bit more for that. Now let's go to the last one, and that's these national meetings that you started to address. How many, is there one national meeting a year, two national meetings a year? I really don't know.
Two, NACO has 2 meetings, nationally a year that we've been going to, one out of DC and then one in DC, the spring conference. And then, of course, the Western region, which talks about a lot of Western issues, then that's one. So there's 3 main meetings in Macon. And Forrest has been involved in we talked about it, the PILT fly-in and those fly-ins.
So on the national meetings, just help me out, because this is all new. How many other counties go to those, have representatives go to those national meetings?
There's just over 3,000 counties, and typically at the legislative conference, that's about 1,500 people come to that. So other counties, I would guess somewhere in the 600 or 700 counties are represented.
How about in Wyoming?
In Wyoming.
Out of the 23 is what I should have clarified myself.
And out of Wyoming, it's usually, and it depends. It'll go anywhere from 2 or 3, like on PILT. I was the only one that went last year. The year before, there were 4 counties.
You and Gregory.
Yeah, Gregory and I, and from WCCA.
Well, let me ask a question.
So I was in office after
I
office.
was going to say about
office.
10 counties usually go.
I don't want to take too long here, Matt.
No, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt. I was just going to ask a question.
But go ahead and ask.
Well, first of all, I'd like to applaud the county attorney, because we over the years have been paying for involuntary commits from surrounding counties. Right? We have been carrying the load for other counties in Wyoming. It's been an expense to Natrona County that didn't belong to us. And and I hear you guys saying, you're basically the voice of Wyoming, and it's important to Wyoming. And
Natrona County.
I understand Natrona County's in Wyoming, but I mean, so my question is, how much of the load is Natrona County carrying for, because we're just one of the 23 counties. And the other issue I'm having, forgive me for this, is I'm just not I'm not seeing the connection or the actual benefit from going. I'm just not seeing a real positive result. And I understand you guys are going, and you guys are having some conversation. But if it is a Wyoming, issue, then my question is, well, why isn't the governor having these conversations? Or maybe he is.
He is having them, and
right?
We're having them. We need to back him up. You mentioned you could go over here, but the fight's coming at us from Washington, and we have to be in the fight. So if you have to be engaged in that fight.
So let me ask a question.
Sure.
So I don't ramble here.
Go ahead.
Is your issue these national meetings, the Washington, D.C. and that, or is your issue even deeper than that? And do you disagree with what I was talking about us participating at these state levels?
Well,
I want to understand what your issue is.
My issue is that I think we're